There was a really strong light. It lit up the entire cab of my cruiser to the point where I was having a hard time driving because I really couldn't see it. I was blinded by it. It was a perfect sphere, and it almost looked like plasma moving constantly. And I was perplexed and confused at what I was looking at.
That is veteran Connecticut police officer Robert Klein describing what he says was a close encounter with a UFO. Take a look at this video. This is a reenactment of what Officer Klein says he saw back in April of 2022, taken from his description. He says he was barely into his overnight shift on a stretch of dark road that runs along a lake when his patrol car was filled with bright light that emanated from an object that was hovering near his car. The light changed colors several times, and then it zipped over the lake in the blink of an eye. Here to talk to us more about this alleged UFO sighting is NewsNation special correspondent and investigative journalist Ross Coulthart. Ross, it's always good to see you. I want to get your immediate thoughts on this account from Officer Klein.
G'day, Natasha. Well, it's exciting because it looks like, when you see that fantastic reenactment that NewsNation's done, it looks like something out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You see the cabin of his cruiser filling up with light, and then when he's got his faculties back, he looks out the window, and as he describes, it's this gigantic, pulsing, multicoloured orb. And it's quite extraordinary. But the thing I find fantastic is that an officer with the experience, 25 years experience of Robert Klein, showed the presence of mind and indeed the courage to feel okay about coming forward and talking about it publicly. I think that's the most significant and important thing, because frankly, these sightings are happening all the time. There's a huge intensity of sightings right now, many of them orange plasma balls like he described, and where he is very close to one of the most important UFO sightings areas in US history, which is the Hudson Valley, where there was an enormous number of sightings 20 to 30 years ago.
I appreciate that context. And when it comes to Officer Klein's account, what would you say to anyone who is skeptical because he waited 2 years to come forward with this testimony?
Well, how do you deal with skeptics, Natasha? I mean, ultimately, they're just going to always say it can't possibly be, therefore it isn't. There's a kind of a denialism in the face of overwhelming evidence. A lot of people say witness evidence isn't evidence. I don't agree. Witness evidence is evidence. We convict people based on witness evidence in our courts. It's very important evidence. And in this case, we have a very senior police officer, a man of high credit, who's worked for his community for 25 years. Why would he expose himself to public vilification and ridicule, or at least the risk thereof, by speaking about UFOs? All credit to him for showing the bravery about coming forward. I think we're moving beyond the period where these things get treated with default ridicule and contempt. I think the public are a lot wiser than we give them credit for. They can smell a rat when they see one, and I freely speak about the fact that I think the US government knows a lot more than it's revealing about what these objects are.
And for the sake of playing devil's advocate, do you think there are any immediate Earth origin explanations that come to mind for what he saw?
Okay, let's try that. It could be, say, a flare. The trouble is that what he described was instantaneous movement. He describes 1 minute it's over his patrol car, and the next minute, as he films with his video camera, it's zoomed instantaneously across the lake. Flares don't do that. Neither do aeroplanes, helicopters, or any other type of prosaic explanation. Could it be a meteor? Could it be a comet? Could it be a satellite? No. So all of the prosaic explanations that you'd normally look for to try and explain something like this, and you should, because quite often it's important to be skeptical. Quite often we do mistake things that are prosaic for abnormal or anomalous objects. And I think that the simple fact is, in this case, there is no explanation.
Have you ever seen this level of reports on social media before of people describing these witness firsthand accounts? And are they notably clustered in specific areas?
Natasha, the sightings at the moment are off the charts. I've been talking to people from MUFON, and they're telling me that reports not only in the US over sensitive US military facilities, particularly facilities with nuclear weapons or nuclear power, but also over the United Kingdom, there are spates of what the US Air Force is continuing to describe as drone sightings over some of the most sensitive RAF, Royal Air Force bases in the United Kingdom. And we know, apocryphally, that they are bases where nuclear weapons are allegedly located and they are shared with the US Air Force. It's an issue of grave concern. In fact, it should be a national security concern that right now, over sensitive military facilities across the United States, as we've reported before, I think I've spoken to you about sightings over the Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, we're now seeing those over the continental USA and across Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom. Sightings are off the charts. I've never had so many reports coming in. And a lot of them, intriguingly, Natasha, are orbs, plasma orbs with this distinctive orange-red colour that Officer Klein saw that evening in 2022.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.